Many years ago, in the quiet village of Oguma, lived a young woman named Ifeoma. She was a seamstress, known for her beauty and gentle heart. But what made her most admired was her love for Ekene, her husband and best friend since childhood. Their love was the kind that many dreamed of but few ever experienced. Though their lives were simple, they were rich in what mattered most, love. But love, too, can be tested. One evening, Ifeoma eagerly greeted Ekene at the door, a secret smile playing on her lips. She placed his hand on her stomach, revealing that he was going to be a father. Ekene was filled with sheer joy, lifting her off the ground in happiness. From that day forward, Ekene did everything for Ifeoma. No more housework, no more chores. He treated her like a queen, and Ifeoma basked in the attention. Other women in the village marveled at the love between them. Ifeoma was at the market, her belly visibly larger, as other women approached her, curious about the secret behind Ekene's undying affection for her. Ifeoma, humble and grateful, always gave credit to God's grace. She and Ekene had already chosen a name for their unborn daughter, Adanna, meaning daughter of the Father. They were both eagerly awaiting her arrival. The months passed, and one night, as they slept, Ifeoma woke with sharp cramps. They rushed to the village clinic, where Ekene nervously paced outside the labor room, anxious and hopeful. The doctor emerged, congratulating Ekene on the birth of his baby girl. Ekene was overwhelmed with joy, but that joy quickly turned to fear when the doctor revealed that Ifeoma was still delivering another baby and her life was in danger. Ekene's heart shattered. He didn't care about the second child, all he wanted was for his wife to live. He prayed desperately, promising everything to save her life. But despite his prayers, after what seemed like an eternity, the doctor returned with the worst news. Ifeoma had passed away. Ekene was inconsolable. His world had come crashing down. He wept bitterly, feeling as though his life had ended. A few hours later, with tears streaming down his face, he left the hospital holding his newborn daughter, Adanna, but refused to even acknowledge the second baby. In his grief, Ekene blamed the second child for his wife's death. He wished the child had died instead of Ifeoma. Overcome with anger and sorrow, he left the baby at the hospital, unable to bear the thought of raising the child he believed had caused his wife's death. Later that evening, the nurses from the clinic traced Ekene to his home, bringing the second child with them. They reminded him that this was still his child. But Ekene, still broken, declared that he wanted nothing to do with the baby who had taken his beloved Ifeoma from him. The nurses had no choice but to leave the child with her father, as she was his responsibility. Ekene's heart was heavy with grief and resentment, and he could not yet bring himself to see beyond the pain of losing the love of his life. Days turned into weeks, and the village buzzed with whispers about Ekene's sudden change. The once joyful and loving husband was now a shell of his former self, his laughter replaced by a haunting silence. Adanna was a beautiful baby girl, with her mother's delicate features and deep, soulful eyes. But Ekene could hardly bear to look at her. Every time he saw her, he was reminded of Ifeoma, the woman he had loved more than life itself. The little girl's cries echoed through the house, but they were drowned out by the tumult of Ekene's grief. He often found himself staring out at the horizon, lost in memories of happier times, the laughter, the shared dreams, the promises of a bright future that had all vanished in an instant. As the sun set each evening, Ekene would sit alone in the dark, holding Adanna in his arms, his heart torn between love and despair. He felt he was betraying Ifeoma by nurturing the child he had once despised. But deep down, he knew he had to care for her. Adanna was innocent, yet he found it difficult to forgive her for her very existence. Months passed, and the villagers started to notice the neglect. The house that had once been filled with warmth and love was now cold and uninviting. Ekene rarely left home, and when he did, he wore a mask of indifference. He would walk through the village, avoiding the eyes of neighbors who offered sympathetic glances. One day, as he sat under the shade of a large mango tree, an elderly woman approached him. Her name was Mama Neka, a wise woman respected in the village. She sat beside him quietly for a moment before speaking. "You carry a heavy burden, my son," she said softly. "Your heart is broken, and it is understandable. But remember, your daughter is a part of Ifeoma. She carries her spirit. By closing your heart to her, you close it to the love that still exists." Ekene looked at her, anger and pain swelling within him. "Love? How can I love what reminds me of my loss?" he replied bitterly. "I lost the only person who mattered to me." Mama Neka sighed, her eyes filled with compassion. "Ifeoma would want you to love her child. She would want you to find joy again. Adanna needs you, Ekene. She is your legacy, your hope." Her words struck a chord within him. He looked at Adanna, who was quietly playing with a fallen leaf, her innocent laughter a stark contrast to his inner turmoil. For the first time, he truly saw her, his daughter. In the following days, Ekene made an effort to bond with Adanna. He would take her for walks around the village, trying to break the ice that had formed around his heart. With each passing day, he learned more about her, the way her eyes sparkled with curiosity, the way she would giggle at the simplest things. As the seasons changed, so did Ekene's heart. He started to fill their home with laughter again. He would tell Adanna stories of her mother, stories of a beautiful woman who loved her fiercely. Slowly, he began to heal, finding solace in the memories of Ifeoma while embracing the gift of their daughter. One evening, as they watched the sun set together, Ekene felt a warmth in his heart that had long been absent. He turned to Adanna, who was snuggled against him, her little hand wrapped around his finger. "I will never forget your mother," he said softly. "But I promise to love you with all my heart, just like she would have wanted." From that day on, Ekene learned to cherish the duality of his life, the pain of loss and the joy of new beginnings. Adanna became his anchor, helping him navigate the turbulent waters of grief. As the years went by, Ekene transformed his sorrow into strength. He became a better man, a devoted father, and a loving tribute to Ifeoma's memory. And as he watched Adanna grow, he understood that love doesn't end with loss, it evolves. Through the tears and the heartache, Ekene found hope, realizing that life's greatest treasures often emerge from the darkest of times.